Good morning, everybody. This is Shelby Forsythia coming at you in a Wednesday live video. In a random twist of events, I am outside today, so hopefully the sound quality won't be affected. I've got my little mic piece on, so I might be holding it close to me if there's like a loud truck or anything that passes by. Today I want to talk about fear of grief. And as always, if I say anything that resonates with you, leave a comment, and we can chit-chat in the discussion below. Loud truck. This is an experiment today. So I was meditating on this week's topic. It's been coming up a lot in my space. I started thinking about the news. One of my favorite podcasts that I listen to is Rob Bell's Robcast, and this week he was talking about how to watch the news without going insane. And just like this week, I wanted to sit with the idea that grief surrounds us and can be seen everywhere. So what I'm coming up against this week, or what seems to be floating around a lot in my space, is the realization that most of us, or in general, our society is afraid of grief. We're afraid of it in the way that we criticize the way that others grieve, where we say that's dumb, or that's too depressing, or you're being way too public about it, or we avoid grief altogether by avoiding people who are grieving, or by staying away from their homes, or their community spaces, or their vigils in general as they're grieving. So all of these that I'm presenting today, there's going to be 3 of them today, are hypotheses and observations and just kind of things I've picked up as I've gone through grief recovery and I've gone through some energy work and things like that. But let me know what you think of them, because I think these 3 reasons are why people are afraid of grief, and I think if we can pinpoint why we're afraid, it's really helpful in helping us work through grief when it actually comes up in our lives. So see if these are true for you at all. So the first reason that we're afraid of grief is that we have never experienced it. A lot of us are afraid of grief because either we've never truly experienced it, or we feel like we can never experience it, or we can never experience grief in the way that somebody else is. This would be like me saying, I've never been divorced, so I don't know what it's like, or I can't relate, or this emotion or this feeling doesn't belong to me. And in some ways that's true and valid. We can never experience grief the same way that other people experience it, but being afraid of grief because you don't know what it feels like only makes it more terrifying and more consuming when it does enter your space. So a solution that I've come up with for this is to get to know grief. And how do you know grief exactly without actually experiencing it? This kind of has to be done in your own way. My first thought would be to start conversations with somebody who has lost something, whether that is a person, or they've lost their home or sense of identity, or a career, or a pet, or anything like that. Oftentimes just starting with what happened is a really great way to open the conversation about grief and loss with somebody, is to get them to start telling their story. If that's a little bit too intimate for you, or you don't know somebody who has lost something, which I feel is highly unlikely, we all start losing things around ages 3 to 5 is when we experience our first losses. If that's a little intimate for you and you're not ready to ask anybody those questions in person, there are tons and tons and tons of books, podcasts, movies, TV shows that depict grief in some way. And more or less, you can think about it this way: all plot twists are some form of grief, where somebody's having an affair, or oh my gosh, somebody is moving to a different city, or oh my gosh, somebody just died or is in the hospital, or something like that. So all major plot twists in movies, books, TV shows, things like that are all major grief events. So those are 2 solutions that I have for those. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. So if you want to, you can definitely message me for some recommendations on places to find grief stories. There's some podcasts that I listen to that I'm a big fan of, as well as some books that I have read that are super cool and talk about people venturing through grief and what life is like through grief and after grief as well. So that's the first one. We've never experienced it. So the second one is that grief is ugly / messy / needy / illogical, and we have been taught that all of these are negative or undesirable. So there's a piece of one of Brene Brown's books that I really appreciate that talks about being unapologetically needy. And at some point in our lives, all of us will know the ache and the societally induced embarrassment and the helplessness of truly felt need, and needing people to be there for us, or needing to be fed, or needing to be clothed, or to be put somewhere for the night, or needing to be heard, or needing to be seen, or needing to be loved. We will all express really societally deemed ugly or illogical need in our lives. And for a lot of us, that's really hard to look at. Neediness is like nose running, body bleeding, chest heaving presence. And it's not pretty. Society has taught us that being in need is undesirable, or that it's immature, it's for children or babies, and it doesn't make that much sense. But it does make sense. It's just really, really hard to look at when we do experience it in our lives. Neediness reminds us that we are all weak at times, or that we cannot do life alone. We can't exist without the help or without the support of others. And sometimes we need people to pull us up. Sometimes we need people to see our darkness, or our wallowing, or our hoarding, or our isolation. And sometimes we just need to be held while we cry. And seeing that need and recognizing that need is hard for a lot of us. We see it, or society has told us to see it as something to not look at. So the solution that I found to this is also from Brene Brown. I won't claim it as mine. It's looking into the eyes of needy people and seeing their humanity, seeing their heart and their soul as people, instead of seeing their outside situation and judging from there. Taking 10 more seconds out of your life to really notice need and appreciate it and be present for it. And again, this can be done from a distance or close up. There are plenty of nightly news stories, TV shows, and movies that display need. But there are also places in person to experience need. So if you live in a big city like I do, need is easily visible as soon as you hit downtown, sometimes even before then. There's also places like shelters or disaster relief centers that cater specifically to people who are in need. So take a look at need and remember that it exists in you as well. We all have really ugly, messy, illogical need in our stories. Starts when we were little. We kind of learn to get rid of it as we get older, but especially in grief, it does come back. Those are places and spaces in which we need to be heard. So that was reason number 2, that we're afraid of grief. Reason number 3 is that we have been hurt by the grief of others. So we're scared of grief and we're hesitant to express it, or we feel like we need to be alone to grieve because maybe we have been hurt or damaged by the grief of others. When people don't know how to express grief in a healthy way, it can come out in insults, in blaming, in violence, isolation, or downright abuse. There we go. Just pause for a moment. Being a victim of any of these and knowing someone's story of they just lost their dad, or they just lost their job, or they just got broken up with, makes it really easy to connect grief and negativity in your life. Especially if you've been a key player in somebody's life, you've probably been hurt by the pain that they are feeling. So the story there is, they are hurting, so I will also hurt. They are hurting, so they will also hurt me. And that makes us fear both grief and the people who are grieving. It's one of life's biggest not fairs. So if you can, this is the solution. Distance yourself from the person who has hurt you or is hurting you currently. This can be energetically, this can be emotionally, this can be spiritually, and this can be physically. This is not being afraid of the grief that they are expressing. This is looking out for and being proactive about your own well-being. Then, and this is the hardest part of all of it, is to grieve for yourself and for your experience. Being hurt over time is a transformational process. You are a different person from when you started the relationship with that person who has hurt you. And you may have lost emotional pieces of yourself at the hands of somebody else expressing their pain. So work with a group or a therapist or a counselor or an energy practitioner or whatever calls to you to transform the pain from that experience, and seek out the stories of others who have transmuted their pain in healthy ways. So i.e. like art, music, dance, writing, starting a business, just being kind to others in some way. You can do a quick search on YouTube or on Google and you'll find thousands and thousands of stories of beautiful souls and beautiful people who have transformed painful pasts into healthy, transcendent creative outlets. And the biggest thing in all of this is to know that there is space for your pain, and there's a crowd of people and there's a group of people available to receive it, and that grief is not always something that will end up hurting other people. So that brings me to the end of my live Wednesday video today. I'd love to know if you can think of any other reasons that we as a society or as humans are afraid of grief. So leave them in the comments below. I'm leading a group this Sunday. This is a group I do every month called the Second Sunday Surrender Summon Circle. It's a lot of S's. I'm learning I love alliteration. It's an exercise in active listening and in sharing our stories with other people. You can find more about that under the live courses tabs on shelbyforsythia.com. It's up there on the top right. If you haven't already, sign up for my email updates. Every Wednesday I send out a copy or a replay of this video that you're seeing right now, as well as any other live or online courses that I'm leading in the next month or so, or launching in the next month or so. Coming up in the next week, I'm going to be offering a free 7-minute meditation, which is an awesome way to kind of take a mental break from your life and maybe pour out some of the grief or some of the heaviness that you carry around in your head with you on a regular basis. You can also find myself and others who are growing through grief in our private Facebook group, which is called Windy City Grief Growers. All you have to do is put in a request and I'll approve you. You read the guidelines as long as you follow them. You're welcome to join our discussion about what it's like to grow through grief, through trauma, and through the pain of our lives. Again, that's all I have for you guys today. I'd love to hear some comments and your thoughts below, and I will see you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. on my Facebook page. Thank you so much for sharing space with me this morning. Bye-bye.